What's going on? This is Anthony Watkins,
And this is Melvin Tobar.
and we are pleased to say after, man, what has it been? 5 years? Almost 6 years?
Almost 6.
And a failed reboot that we're not going to talk about yet. Not yet. Yeah. Welcome. Or for those OGs out there, and I know you're out there, welcome back to the Fresh
Squeeze
Podcast. And first and foremost, I have to say, because you went down the rabbit hole looking for our videos, and you found something pretty disturbing. Do you want to tell us about that? Do you want to get into that?
There were a sequence of egregious videos made by us. And although they were good at the time, we realized that we are much better now. And thankful that we're back now.
Yes, that definitely was one of the things we found in the rabbit hole. But before we even got to those, what did you find?
We found some imposters. Just some. We found some squeezes. They just were not fresh enough to be named the Fresh Squeeze Podcast. You can allude to that a little bit more if you want to go more in depth on it.
You know, I'm all for being an inspiration for people. I'm all for, people reiterating. But just taking the full name, taking the orange, all of that. We've been doing this since 2020. I know, I get it. Y'all thought we weren't ever going to come back. But I promise, every year since then, we've been talking about rebooting. And that's on us. We opened the door, we opened the window. But just for anybody who might have been looking for one of these other podcasts, this is the only place where you're really going to get the squeeze while it's fresh.
Yes, this is the official Fresh Squeeze Podcast. The original.
Official, real, authentic, all of those things. So, with that being said, I think it's cool if we, get into it just for us as well to, let ourselves know and let anybody watching know, how did we even get to this point? Why are we sitting here right now? Why is this something that was a thing and then wasn't a thing for 5 years? Mm-hmm. This idea started with, your inspiration. So I want you to kind of talk about it. And I know it's something that's been on your heart and on your mind for a while. You've been waiting on this moment. So I'm not going to take that from you. I'm just going to build and, throw in my little tidbits. But I want to give that to you to share with the people.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. I'm going to throw the lob right back to you here in a second. We started the Fresh Squeeze. We're not going to tell you about the name yet. We might get into that origin of the name because a lot of you are curious why. Do we just love oranges or something like that? It's much deeper.
Story for another day.
But how we ended up here, man, it's been a journey. Shout out to my mother.
Yes.
The Dark Queen. She's the inspo for a lot of our ideas, a lot of our creativity, and a lot of our successes.
Let me jump in real quick, because does she even know? I feel like when she says these things and issues these challenges to you, to me, does she really believe that we're gonna do them? Does she know what she's doing when she does that, or is it just her just seeing stuff and being like, oh, that would be cool?
I think she sees stuff and thinks we can do anything. And that's why it's important to have people around you that build you up and support you in ways like that. Now, granted, I don't think she would be a guest on the podcast, but she's great at throwing the lobs and giving us the ideas and challenging us and motivating us to go out there and fight our bosses, man. To go back into the story, 2020 COVID time, getting a lot of family time in, and she came in my room. I was living with them still at the time, and she was just like, hey, I think you should start a podcast. Like, this is the perfect time. Like, you're not doing anything else. The world is shut down. Like, get your message out there. You're pretty wise for your age. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. I was raised by the best, you know. And then I brought the idea to you, and, you know, you can tell your reaction.
Well, because I feel like at that point in time, we didn't even recognize like how wise we were beyond our years. I felt like we knew in comparison to our peers, like other 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 year olds, you know, that we were ahead of the game, but we didn't realize how much we really had already experienced and the lessons that we had learned and how valuable those were, because I feel like we were just kind of still in the thick of it, man. We were still like finding our way to manhood in a lot of ways, even though we knew like on some level we were already there. We were already like well spoken, already able to articulate ourselves in a way that, you know, from the outside looking in, it's like, okay, these dudes are, you know, 25 plus, even though they just got out of high school pretty much.
Right.
And I feel like my own lack of awareness of that fact of, you know, how much we had been able to experience, it was a block for me. I'm thinking, okay, podcasts, my mind went straight to basketball because I felt like that was the place where we had the most authority, and there it wasn't what it is today. It wasn't, you know, the regular average Joe just saying, hey, we got a camera, we got microphones, maybe we don't, maybe we just have phones or a laptop with Zoom on it, and hey, let's just chop it up, and if it gets 10 views, great. If it gets 10,000 views, great. If it gets 10 million, then what bank do you want to use? You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, it was definitely a blockage for me. But you know me, man. You come to me with something, and you're the same way with me. Like, even if there's an initial kind of like, I'm not sure about this, we always give each other the benefit of the doubt. And so it wasn't something that I just completely tossed out of my mind. You know, so I'm on YouTube, like you said, it's shutdown time, Corona time, and I'm on YouTube way more than I should be.
Screen time is probably crazy.
Screen time, insane, through the roof. I'm pretty sure it was before screen time was a thing. It's probably what birthed the entire idea of screen time.
Facts. Yeah.
I don't know my iOS history there, but man, so now I'm all of a sudden I'm seeing like podcasts popping up left and right, left and right, left and right. I'm like, whoa. And I click on one. I'm like, who are these guys? And they're talking like they're, you know, NBA head coaches, you know. The Bulls should trade John Johnson for I'm like, bro, you couldn't guard me if I was blindfolded and playing with my left pinky toe, bro. Like, well, you know what I mean? No offense. No offense, actually. You know what I mean? Like, some people say no offense. It's no comma offense. Like, you know what I mean? That intonation. Like, offense. I'm offending you with this. But nah, in all seriousness, that's the great thing about sports and the game of basketball, man. Anybody can talk about it, and that's just something I didn't really realize. And I didn't realize, like, we can just be humans, you know? It was after my first year playing pro basketball, so I was kind of really stuck in this lane of, okay, I got to be this professional basketball player, and, you know, more or less that's it. I had other things, obviously, you know, I was writing my books and doing the stuff on the side, but in terms of the public eye and being on YouTube, for me, that was like a big platform, and I have to appear in a certain way. But as you're going to get into, I'm sure that perspective changed.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this has been a period of growth. For myself, but especially you, just seeing the leaps that you've taken these last few years, especially here recently, and just content creation and putting yourself out there, man. I think this, when we started it way back when, was the first step for both of us to really just get out there and get out of that box that you spoke about. You know, as athletes, you get known for this. People come up to you in the street for this reason, but it's something we'll continue to talk about today. But we've been given a lot of talents, you know, a lot of gifts in a lot of different areas, and so what do you really do when you are really good at this, but you're also really good at that? You know, we kind of got High School Musical syndrome in a sense. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm very thankful to you that you took my mother's idea that I actually listened to. She probably just honestly thought I brushed her off and didn't listen. It was just like, oh, yeah, this is just another thing. Because there's plenty of other stuff that she's probably said that I should do that I haven't done yet. So that's the beauty of our brotherhood, that anything that I see, any dream that I have, any dream you have, like, we got the people around us that want to see those through. We'll do anything to see those through as well too. So that support system is just crucial.
I think it's so interesting just looking back on it. It just screams the hero's journey to me.
Mm-hmm.
Just that concept is something that I want to say it was 7th grade. My English teacher, Miss Petty, she showed us this video on the hero's journey. It might have been even 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like from TEDx, I think.
Yeah.
Breaking down the hero's journey, and it broke it down in a way. The animation is something that, like, every year or two I still, like, I go back and watch that video just because it's a vibe. I don't know. Just the way the animation goes and how it's broken down and how it's presented.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that gets me going and inspires me to just be creative and go on my own journey. But our lives have a lot of these cycles that kind of overlap. And in this one, you can really see, you know, the refusal of the call to action. And I have some notes here on the hero's journey, actually, because it's something that we talked about as having possibly as a topic.
Bruh. I don't know what that is. Are you still rolling?
Yeah, still rolling. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, if it just does that, I guess we just keep going back and forth. Keep it authentic.
Yeah.
All right, bet.
Okay, so had a short lapse there, connectivity issues, but we're back, and I'm in my notes here. And the hero's journey, it starts in the ordinary world, what they call the status quo. And the next step is the call to adventure, which makes sense. But the third step is the refusal of the call.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting because this applies to any major story that's, you know, out there. Someone who, from the point of view of someone who is further along, is deemed worthy, but they themselves don't see themselves as, one second, they don't see themselves as worthy. Like, they only see the ordinary world around them. They haven't seen this other world that maybe the person who's calling them to the adventure has seen. And so, like, your mom, she's seen the adult world, right? At that point, she had seen so much of the adult world, she was like, yeah, he can easily provide value.
Mm-hmm.
It took me really being out in the adult world and seeing and experiencing and continuing to learn and grow, obviously, to really be able to say, okay, no, like, we have value to bring. So you touched on me being more active creating content. I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on TikTok, which I never thought was going to be the case. I don't count it fully because I solely use it to repurpose what I post elsewhere. And my girl does all that. I don't have the app installed on my phone, just out of principle. But no, if I can be a positive force there as well, even if it's just a few people who watch and gain some value instead of just doom scrolling, I'm all for it. And that's the place that that I've matured in terms of not taking myself so seriously and feeling like I'm tainting myself if I put something out and it doesn't get a lot of attention, or I put something out and somebody misinterprets it and feels like I should be focusing more on basketball or whatever. Like, just knowing my truth, knowing that basketball is my greatest love, and understanding how much time I've invested into it, understanding that everything that I do leads back to basketball. All the conversations we have, somehow we relate it back to basketball in some way. But maturing in the sense of, okay, hey, if one person misinterprets it, even if 100 people misinterpret it, my truth is going to show regardless. And that shouldn't stop me from helping somebody else who might be in the shoes I was in a few years ago. Because, man, I mean, we would have dreamt of having us sitting and talking and sharing the experiences that we're sharing, because we made it to the other side of the stuff that we were struggling with all those years ago. So that's worth it alone for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's even crazier to think about, 5-6 years from now, us now looking at that version of us then like, it's going to be even more crazier, with the different life things that we're going through right now, different arcs that we have to go along with our stories. It's insane how much you think that in your current state, and you go a couple of years in the future and you realize you didn't know that much at all. And when I watch our old podcasts, when I watch old videos of me talking and giving presentations, or just like my thought process, I think of like, where was I then? And I'm like, I knew nothing, I'm only 24, but I've been told that I have the demeanor of like a 70-year-old man sometimes. So I preface that with what I'm about to say. There's a phrase called, you're still wet behind the ears. And I think that just describes us so much. We're still getting our legs up under us when it comes to just life in general. Like, I was talking to my mother the other day. She's such an inspiration. She literally was saying, like, yeah, you're just now beginning to be an adult. And I was like, I've been an adult for 6 years. She was like, nah, you were just kind of an adult. Like, you were staying on your own, going places, traveling the world, doing your thing. But now I'm starting to see the real responsibilities that come with this world, that come, like, with who I am and what I've grown into, and I'm sure you've experienced those things, being overseas, being here, being in different scenarios that have called for you to be a different person in a sense, still being true to yourself in that sense of it, but causing you to grow, being challenged to grow and become a different version of yourself. And so that's what this journey is all about. You talked about the hero's journey. I think that refusal of call is what we were kind of dealing with. And once I allude to again, it's like, you got to be able to have people that can pull you up and encourage you to go on that journey. Like, I wouldn't have done the podcast by myself. So I was like, oh, well, let's see if he wants to do it. Because like, I'm not for to put no camera up to my face and just start monologuing. Like, now I would probably do it.
I was going to say, now you definitely would.
Now for sure I would do it. Back then, it's over with. I would have been so worried about the outside noise and not doing what I was called to do in that sense. And so us just being obedient and taking those first steps is something that I want to encourage anybody watching this with. Imposter syndrome strikes us all if we allow it. And a lot of people aren't doing the things that they're supposed to be doing because they have a fear of failure. They have a fear of man. Like, they have a fear of what people think about them. And at the end of the day, like, if you can help one person and two people have a problem with what you said, like, that one person matters more. And when you have that lens on it, it shouldn't stop you from creating. It shouldn't stop you from writing that book, making that movie, getting that job, helping that person out, and that's what we want this space to be, a place for our first slogan was, it's a place for the hoopers and the creators. But it also branches to everything else, it checks all the boxes. Um, just building that community of people who just want to become the best versions of themselves.
Right, and that that's a beautiful segue because this is no longer just a space where we're boxed into, okay, we have to be niched down to
Mm-hmm.
this group of people or niched down to this group of people. We are who we are.
Right.
And that just happens to be people who are interested in so many different things when it comes to being creative. You have the like book writing space, you have the filmmaking space, you
Mm-hmm.
have the video game creation space. You have all these different spaces where it's like, are we going to just have a podcast about filmmaking? Probably not. Probably
Right.
not. But we might have an episode where we base our life, who we are, and
Mm-hmm.
filter it through our filmmaking experience. But the main topic in this entire series of episodes is going to be who we have become
Mm-hmm.
and who we're in the process of becoming, and helping you to do the same thing. So it's not about basketball. It's not about filmmaking. It's not about writing books. It's not about creating video games. It's not about playing table tennis. It's not about any of these things. It's not about pickleball. It's not about working at the YMCA. All of these different things, all that you're gonna hear us
Mm-hmm.
reference, it's gonna be about our human experience. And I know that sounds like almost tinfoil hat type when you talk about human experience, but that's the
Right.
best way for me to describe it is what we have learned, how we've grown, and how we're currently growing, and what we're currently experiencing, and where we're looking to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only way you're going to be able to learn. And if you're sitting here like, man, I don't need to learn anything. Well, hey, I don't know how you've made it this far. I don't think we're just that entertaining. And I'm not saying that we can't learn from you. We're here to learn about ourselves in the process of creating these podcast episodes. It's a form of us expanding into into a new version of ourselves.
Right.
So this is an experience that we're creating for ourselves that we're gonna look back on, like you said, 5-6 years from today, and it's going to be a reference point for our growth, for our learning, for our journey. And that's super exciting when you think about it. So, one question that I want to throw out there to you who's watching is what experience right now are you interested to see and look back on 6 years from now? And it doesn't have to be something that you just started, it can be something that you've been working on for years. Because are we starting the podcast today or did it start 5-6 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's in a constant state of flux.
Exactly. I mean, you think we started this, like you said, 5, 6 years ago. Imagine if we would have kept going. Imagine if we wouldn't have stopped. And just gone along the way and documented the things we experienced. Like the things that we're gonna tell you about, the story times that we're gonna have, the different experiences, like we're telling you those having got through them, but imagine if they were fresh. Imagine if it was the real fresh squeeze at that moment in time we went through them, you know? Um, and think about where we are. That's something that we could look back and document and be like, wow, like we really like saw that, overcame that, and now this is our vantage point of it. Because I'm sure our minds have changed in the way that we think about things. When we get on the phone and have conversations, we talk about things differently with a new lens every year. And it may be the same situation, but we have a different perspective because we constantly have been evolving throughout that. Having a growth mindset is vital to life. Once you get old, they say the first. I don't want to misquote anything. I don't have any scientific research. I might bring that for the next episode, but they say once you stop moving, that's when you stop. That's when you start dying, and once you
Oh,
start learning, that's when you start dying.
oh,
And you think about it, like old people don't know nothing about technology. No offense to old people. I've been called an old person, But some old people like are just like, I'm content. I done learned what I could out of this life, and I'm ready to go. And I know for me, I've made that declaration in my life that that's not who I am. That's not who I aspire to be. And so that constant growth process is the reason that I'm here, and the reason that I'm encouraging whoever's watching this to continue to be in that mind state.
And for me, that is a core reason to stay locked into this. And maybe we're not the right fit for you. But if so, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following this journey. Make sure you're locked in. And if not, I encourage you to find a place where you can see people growing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can model your own growth after that. It doesn't have to, you don't have to, try and make a carbon copy. That's not the point. But if you're surrounding yourself with people who are interested in growing, interested in learning, also from you, you have no choice but to model that in some way. And there's this concept in science, that in neuroscience, called mirror neurons. It's why, for example, my dad, he played me one-on-one way before I was on his level. I played against my dad. We would go to the park and I would play against older guys. We would go to, the junior college in town, Chattanooga State, and I would play against those guys. I would play 1-on-1, 21, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. And so now, when I think back and look at it, those mirror neurons were picking up on stuff that I wasn't even realizing.
Mm-hmm.
I was so fixated on just trying to win, trying to be the best version of myself, and make my skills translate to higher levels, that I didn't even realize what I was picking up on.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff just started happening unconsciously. So that's if it's one thing that you take from this, and I know it's a lot that we're throwing at y'all and we're just chopping it up, but if there's one thing that you can take from this, is surround yourself with the people who are going to promote you to be the best version of yourself. And you touched on it when you were talking about your mom challenging you, challenging me to reach new heights. And it goes back to what I have in here, the call to adventure.
Right.
Are you going to, when the call to adventure comes, how many times are you going to refuse a call? It's natural to refuse the call. Everyone did it. Hercules, Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, all the big heroes. They all did it. Frodo, all these different heroes. Yeah, they refused the call because it was unknown. But if you're refusing the call 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, it's not so unknown what's on the other side anymore. You've been to that other world, right? You've been outside of the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it now? What's the excuse now? Because you know enough to take the step. And let me look here in the notes to see how they put it exactly. Yeah, crossing the threshold. Crossing the threshold. But a key step before that is mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
Mentorship. So the mentor character is introduced before the crossing of the threshold. And if we can be that for you, that doesn't mean we're all knowing and just know everything. Like we've said multiple times, we're still learning, we're still growing, and this is a part of our growing process. But if we can take you along, and even if we're just one step ahead in a certain category and help you to cross that threshold, man, this podcast will be a huge success.
For sure. I mean, I believe that even thinking about who I am now, like I literally am a mentor. I have some clients that I'm just a little bit ahead of, and they call me Unc all the time, as if I'm 45 instead of 24. But being able to pour into them, knowing that I've experienced what they've experienced, and it's new to them, but to me, I've experienced 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of it. And so being able to have people that want to listen, that want to grow, in that regard is so vital. And like Ant said, if we're those people for you, like, feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to comment on this and be like, hey, I'm on the journey with you guys. Like, I want to be this. I'm working towards this right now. That's what this is for. This is for community building. This is for being able to leave our knowledge that we've gotten in any gem that we have that might be able to help somebody across the world. You know, we could just be having this conversation on the phone like we normally have, but there's plenty of things that we're like, oh man, like this person that we see experienced this, and that could have helped them out. You know, what we were just talking about. And so that's why we have this space here. It's funny to continue to talk about the hero's journey, man. Actually, you know, since we're in the age of AI,
oh man,
I got on ChatGPT, and I was just like, you know, I've given a lot of information to ChatGPT about myself, not my address, even though they probably already have that. My FBI agent is probably watching me as we speak, but I just said, with what you know about me, you know, what would you say? How would you describe my hero's journey? And here's a condensed version of that. It gave me a lot of things, a lot of pillars. It actually went into the steps of the arc of the hero's journey. But I asked it to give me a summary. We might get into the full arc later. But it says that, here we go. MCJ, a condensed hero's journey. You look at it here. You found basketball before you found language for life. The court made sense when the world didn't. Effort led to growth. Discipline had purpose. And belief turned into action. As you grew, the game became more than a sport. It became identity. You worked relentlessly, believing effort alone would guarantee outcomes. Sometimes it did. Other times, doors stayed closed. Waiting seasons stretched longer than expected, and responsibility arrived before recognition. That's when the real battle began. Not on the court, but within. You weren't failing, you were fragmented, pulled between faith and ambition, dream and duty, becoming and surviving. The grind that once fueled you began to exhaust you. Instead of quitting, you slowed down. Instead of forcing results, you chose alignment. You realized you didn't have to choose between being an athlete, a believer, or a leader. Basketball wasn't competing with your calling. It was shaping it. Now you move with clarity. You train with purpose. You build while still becoming. You lead without waiting for arrival. Your journey isn't about finally making it. It's about becoming whole and helping others do the same. You didn't escape the fire. You learned how to walk through it and came back with something worth passing on. Now, not gonna lie, I might let that write my resume one day. It's pretty spot on to what we were talking about. You know, I know that our phones listen to us and all the things, but exactly verbatim, some of the things that we already said, like what this is actually for. We haven't made it by any means, but we're just taking steps through the fire, and we're like, all right, come on with us. Like, let's get through this together. And what I take from that, you know, I would encourage you guys to type that prompt in. Obviously, like, I've had a couple conversations with GPT for it to know a little bit about my journey.
Right.
And as we continue to go through these episodes, you guys will learn more about both of us and our storylines and things that can resonate with you guys. But for those that do know me, I would say that resonates. That you guys would think that resonates. And I would just say that this journey, we always say the adventure continues. And so being able to just keep going, that's one of the things that I noticed that it talked about. You know, I got a little bit tired. I got a little bit weary in that sense of it. But it is the journey. You know, that's the blessing through all of this. The hero's journey is literally about who the character becomes. Think about your favorite movies. Think about Shrek. I don't know why I just thought about Shrek. It's random, but we'll go with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, think about his character development. That's what they talk about in the movies. But, you know, Shrek is one of my favorite movies. Not the favorite, but one of mine. Like, everybody grew up on Shrek. If you haven't seen it, you missed out on your childhood. But, you know, in that story, he was just this one secluded ogre that really hated people. Like, he hated being around folks. Like, everybody was hating on him, like, because he was an ogre off the strength of it. They knew nothing about him. And so when he goes and saves the princess, like think about the imposter syndrome he was facing, like that whole time. Like he's literally an ogre, and this beautiful woman like wants to see his face, and he's like, nah, like I'm not your knight in shining armor, when he literally is. And you know, obviously, to spoil it, if you haven't seen it, it's been like 25 years.
Yeah, they've had enough time.
Yeah, but the girl was literally like, bro, like, no, like, I care to see who you are. Like, I see you for who you are and what you've done. And I think it's so important to be able to get past that, you know, to whoever is going through that imposter syndrome across the journey. Like, he had to go through that, face it, be insecure about it. She had to pull him out of it, and then he completely changed as a character. You know, he became the hero on the journey. You know, he was the hero all along, but it took him forever to realize it. And if you haven't realized it yet, that's where the challenge comes. That's where my encouragement, Ant's encouragement, comes out to you. To just keep battling and keep going through your process.
It's so interesting, because it's number 7 on my list here, and it's The Abyss, also known as The Darkest Hour.
Mm-hmm.
And me, as somebody who has written now 2 novels and is working on the 3rd novel, it's always been tough to put a character that you identify strongly with into this. It was always tough. It was always tough.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't realize is, in that darkest hour, when everything seems to just be going awry and you lose everything, that old version of you has to die. And what does that mean? It's a buzzword. The old self has to die. You have to, you know. Mm-hmm. It means that you finally let go of all of the rules that you've made for yourself and allow yourself to be who you always knew you could be. And that example with Shrek is incredible, because he had an image of a knight in shining armor. An image so strong that he couldn't even realize and recognize that he was legitimately a knight in shining armor saving a princess.
Right.
And you relate that back to our story that has led us here. We, over these years, haven't realized the value that we have to bring. That doesn't mean we're better than anybody. It really means we're on the same level. We're on the same playing field, because all of us have certain attachments to our dreams, our goals, the best version of ourselves that we see ourselves being. We know we can be them, but we're looking for all kinds of things to go in our favor, to go right, these resources to come in from who knows where, so that we can finally be who we need to be. And that darkest hour, normally, you know, people are kind of like teeter-tottering in between, like, the ordinary world and the magical world, and, you know, okay, like, I'm close to my goal and I'm working toward it, and so on and so forth. But that's not going to cut it. There's going to come a time where you get smacked in the face so hard that you lose everything, and you either choose to stay there, or you say, wow, okay, I'm at rock bottom, but I'm alive. And now I see in this failure, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. In this near-death experience with my goal, I'm recognizing, oh, all these things that I was attached to, all these things that I was worried about, okay, they play some kind of factor. But they don't make or break this. So with us, imagine if we would have waited to have some kind of studio, or, for example, I'm in Berlin and you're in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Over the years, we might just need to wait until we're in the same space and we can, you know, get in the studio and set it up how we envision it to be. No. you got to make it happen in the smallest form possible first. Right. And there's something behind you on that wall that speaks to that.
For sure. I don't know how much you guys can see it. Shout out to the Allens. My first best friend ever. We have Christmas together every year. Him, his family, our little sister, and everybody there. And this year, you know, his mom asked me, like, what's my favorite Bible verse? Randomly. Like, we have family dinner every Sunday night. And I was like, all right, well, I got a few that I like, you know. But the one that I was reflecting on so much was Luke 16:10. And so here comes Christmas time. Boom, boom, I'm unwrapping gifts. I'm like, what is this? This is like a wooden pallet thing. Like, what is this? I pull it out, and it's this right here. I'm going to take it off the wall here. Got it on my little hook. If you guys can see it. But Luke 16:10, it says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. It's about doing the best with what you have. You know, like Ant just said, it's even if you're not a believer in that sense, you know, you can take that principle with you for life, you know.
Man, say that one more time. Please say that one more time.
I got you. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much.
And the last little disclaimer that you put after it is just as crucial.
Even if you are not a believer, you can take that principle with you for life.
100%.
That is a life principle, you know, and being able to adopt that into my life has helped me so much. That's why we're literally here right now. We had so many, you know, that's another episode for another day. But we had so many technical difficulties, like getting this set up here, and so many deterrents for us to just be like, all right, bro, we'll just try this again another day, and another day turns into another week, and another week turns into another month, and another month turns into another year.
And that's happened before. Before, where we said, okay, we'll just do it tomorrow then, man. It's not lining up. And that thought crept in my mind. I know it crept into yours too. It was understood, so it didn't need to be said. But that's it. But once again, though, that darkest hour is going to show you what you need and what you don't need. Because what you think you need is not what you actually need.
Exactly. And once you get to that point, when you get to that darkest hour, like, honestly, in this specific scenario today, when our call dropped and it was getting to that point where those thoughts were starting to creep in, I was already, mind you guys, this is all happening. You didn't see this. I'm clapping. I'm hyped up. You know, I'm ready to go. We're getting ready to go 3, 2, 1. Yeah. And I get so happy, I kicked the camera over. You know, that was one of the first strikes. I'm like, oh, okay, like we got to set this up. I got too happy. Okay, boom. Then all of a sudden the call kept dropping. My Wi-Fi, I'm sitting right by my Wi-Fi router. It says very great connection. It just completely drops off. I'm like, all right, man, like what's going on here? We get back to it, we get excited, and we just get on that call. We get on this call today, and it dropped off earlier. I'm like, all right, man, nothing is going to stop us from getting this done today at this point, because it's already tried. It's too late, you know? We're already committed to this. We're already doing it, and we're already providing the value and just giving our share to the world in that sense of it. But it was because I had went through that darkest hour before. Me and Ann have gone through this darkest hour before, and we go back to those points of regret, of staying down and not getting it done. Like we said, like if we would have gotten back 2-3 years ago and started this again, think about the amount of content we would be able to put into the world. Think about the amount of wisdom we would be able to share. Think about how much we could learn from y'all. Think about the conversations we would have had, you know, that would have helped us with things that we didn't see that were going to happen in the future. And so we don't want to continue to hold that back anymore. And we encourage you to not hold that back in that sense of it, you know. If you're wanting to learn, if you wanting to be great, just steward the little things that you got now.
It's that loss and that realization of the missed opportunity that where we didn't even talk about this. We didn't even talk about this, but we both knew it was happening. It was that past experience of hitting the resistance, hitting the wall, and backing away and saying, you know what, you win. And giving in and understanding, like you just said, imagine what could have been.
Right.
It is such an interesting thing because it goes straight into the topic of humility. People talk about humility like it's this thing of, oh, all these people are better than me and so on. It's not about better or worse. It's not about any of that. Humility is literally having hit that wall of resistance and said, okay, I'm not going to do it. Seeing how that plays out for you and then gaining the understanding of, I'm not going down that road again. And that humility actually breeds from the outside looking in what everyone sees as confidence. Because like you said, it doesn't matter what happens. We're doing this. We're recording this, editing it together, putting it out there, no matter what. Just out of principle. Out of principle because we know what the alternative is. We've been down the road. We've been to the darkest hour when it comes to this podcast situation. And we know we're not going down that again. It doesn't matter. A lot of people talk about, well, if I'm going to put something out there, I want it to be professional. Newsflash, buddy. You're not professional. Hello. Hey, it's reality speaking. You're not professional. You're not professional.
Right.
And so, understanding. 1 second, I think my mic might have disconnected. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not checking. I'm not turning the camera off. But this idea of professionalism, right? Everyone has to start somewhere. Has anyone seen Denzel Washington's first movie? Have you watched that? Heck no, you haven't watched it. You don't know what it is? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. All we know is Denzel. The Denzel. Exactly.
We know who he's become. He's become.
Right. And there is no Denzel Washington without that first movie. He'll be the first one to tell you that. It wasn't professional. Yes, there are one-hit wonders who seem to come out of nowhere and, young childhood stars and all of these different things. But that's not the standard. Be willing to be unprofessional. Be willing for it to look rough. Because without that rough foundation, you're not going to get the reps in that you need to like what's on that wall behind you to be able to, when it does come, when the resources do come, when the professional blah, 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 whatever you're missing to start and take action comes, you're not going to know what to do with it. With us, yeah, okay, we have a lot of unfilmed film ideas. Granted. A lot of, we need to make this video or make this skit. But how many reps do we have with no script, no crew, no cast? We got films out there where we play all the characters. We're talking to ourselves, to each other, in different versions, and so on and so forth. Imagine what happens when you and I are director or co-directors, and we're on a Hollywood set.
All right. Shout out to the off season, by the way.
Shout out to the off season. If you're not subscribed to the off season, man, I don't know what you're doing. If you YouTube search it, it's probably not going to come up. But
put the dash, off dash season.
Off dash season. If you find that, come back to this video and comment something, and we're gonna comment back that I ask. If you don't know what it means, you gotta scour the off season and figure out what it means. All right, if we're not being rude, if you take that comment reply back as rude, then you didn't scour enough. Okay, so that's your disclaimer right now. If you get hit with the did I ask, and your butt hurt about it, it just means you didn't listen to this disclaimer. But really looking at that, man, what we have gone out and done, when we do have the materials that we know would be a great luxury to have, we're going to be able to put together way more than somebody who's waiting on that to happen, waiting to be on a Hollywood set, who knows conceptually what needs to be done. But what happens when one of those cameras goes out? What happens when somebody forgets their lines? What happens when blah, blah, blah? We've been through all that. Mm-hmm. We've been through the Murphy's Law, you know. If you don't know what Murphy's Law is, make sure you're subscribed, because we're gonna have a full episode on that. I'm not even gonna get into that.
For sure. And speaking about what you said about humility, I did have a point that just came to my mind, actually. You know, a lot of people think that humility, like you said, is just being like, oh, okay, these people are better than me, so I'm just going to take a step back. You know, what we just are talking about right now, like, you can very easily look at us and be like, who do they think they are? They think that they're God's gift to the world, that everything they've experienced, people just need to hear them. That's fair. You can have that opinion and think that, but I would say the confidence comes because we know that we're called to do this in that sense. The humility of it is, even though we're not the best, we're going to do what we're called to do in that sense. We're going to try to help someone out. You know, the intention, we don't care about this podcast blowing up. We used to care about it 5 years ago. That's why it blew up, but it didn't blow up the way we wanted it to. It completely blew up and disintegrated.
Blew up and didn't exist anymore.
Exactly. But who we are now, we understand why we should have had the podcast in the first place. Yes, we started, we got boots on the ground and did it, but it wasn't for the right intentions, because we call it getting sweaty. We play games too. We played 2K and all the things. We'll talk about that later. We were getting sweaty. We were getting sweaty about it. And now, all we want to do is just be able to offer something to the world. And if you guys want to take that and run with it, please do so. But the humility comes from doing what you're called to do, because you'll get humbled by those things. Like Ant was saying, the humility comes from the act of, all right, I'm going to go through this, not knowing what's going to happen, but knowing that I'm going to be all right. You're going to get hit in the head, bust upside the head a couple of times.
Man.
You're going to hit that, you're going to hit that darkest hour multiple times. We've hit the darkest hour countless times in countless different things. Basketball, life, in general.
I hit it Sunday, bro.
You know? I had it 2 days ago, literally.
I literally had it Sunday, but it inspired a whole new series for my YouTube channel.
There you go. You know? And it's those things when you basically, I don't want to sound too esoteric with it and say, like, when you die, but when you go to these levels, when you're so low energy, when you're so, like, weak and vulnerable, that's when that strength really comes out of you on the other side of that. Knowing that you've got through those things, knowing that, dang, I was down bad right here, but I'm on the other side. That gives you the strength to keep going. That is why confident people are confident people, because they have the most wounds. They have the most scars. You know, if you're going to look and see who's the best warrior, you're not going to look at who's the freshest or who looks like the strongest. You're going to go with the person that has the most scars, because they know they have the most experience.
You're never going to know who you actually are until you become a nobody. And there are a lot of different ways to become a nobody. But this darkest hour that we're talking about is one of the most frequent ones that is experienced. And that's where everything that you thought that you were gets stripped away. Everything that you thought that you were gets stripped away. And you're left with the bare bones of who you actually are. And most of the time, it's uncomfortable. Because those are the things that you need to work on and improve on in order to be who you think you can be. And your point about humility really segued perfectly into the final two steps of the hero's journey that I have written down. Steps 8 and 9, right? The counter to 6, 7. By the way, if y'all are wondering, say 8, 9. 6, 7, 8, 9. So there you go. 8, 9. But going back to the point, circling into it, circling back into it, circling from through it, you know what I mean.
So poetic.
You have the transformation that comes after the darkest hour. So you're stripped down to the bare bones, and then it forces a transformation. You're going to stay in that darkest hour until, you might die there. There's no guarantee that the transformation happens, but if there's a next step, it's the transformation. It's the transformation, which then leads you to what they call in the hero's journey the elixir. The thing that you set out to find the entire time. The elixir. And that could be a weapon, that could be a job, it could be whatever it is. It's the thing that you set out to retrieve on your journey. And the final step. So this elixir, finding and retrieving the elixir is the last part of the transformation step. And the last step is returning back to the ordinary world and sharing the elixir. So if you look at our journey here with this podcast, we were in the darkest hour for years. Years, right? And we didn't know it, but this transformation was also happening while we were in that darkest hour.
Right.
Every time you brought it up, every time I, got an idea and thought about something, when we tried the reboot, that transformation hadn't taken place. We had a reboot planned for the podcast multiple times, but we actually filmed. And we were still so fixated on the elixir of going viral, right? Mm-hmm. This elixir of becoming internet stars. I don't even know what it was. I think it was just our competitive nature.
Didn't even want that jump for real.
We really didn't even want it. It was just, we see other people.
It was just off the strength. If we gonna do it, we might as well do it,
Exactly. So just wanting, from an egoic perspective, wanting whatever we do to turn to gold,
right,
forced us into ideas that we could never sustain. We were trying to create skits for every podcast episode. Man, our schedules are hectic enough to where we have to be very intentional about when are we going to do this and how often, and have a set schedule. So we've decided to go one time a month. And we'll probably end up having some surprise episodes, but we can commit to one time a month. Mm-hmm. So this is the first week of the month. We're sitting here recording, and we're off to a great start. Because the priority has no longer become the elixir. Mm-hmm. The priority has become sharing the elixir, which is not the elixir itself. It's the experience of going out and going after whatever the elixir was. That's what impacts the ordinary world that you left from more than anything that you can bring back. Any trophy, any money, any car, any, in the fantasy realm, any weapon or any of these things. The experience and who you've become in the process is the actual valuable piece. And so you going into it, we went through the hero's journey just organically speaking here with no coordination really. We knew, this is a topic that we want to talk about. We both had some notes written down, but even how this conversation has progressed, it goes through the same exact process and you end up at the same result. Sharing the elixir is the entire payoff of the
Right.
story. It makes everything worth it.
Right. It's well said there, brother. It's well said.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. I know we have some things planned for our next few episodes, but I do think that Darkest Hour would be very valuable to talk about. You know, I think it would be very good for us to talk about our darkest hours and some of our arcs. You know, one thing that I've realized, and this will be for another episode. Won't go full monologue for it, obviously. Tell the life story another time. But I have found that, you know, we were just talking about it before we even got on the call. This past year feels like it has been 8.
Yeah.
It literally has been the longest year, but it has had the shortest arcs ever. But it's been a lot of arcs within this story, within this journey. You know, it's called arcs. All those phases that Ant was talking about are called arcs, story arcs.
Mm-hmm.
And in life, you're gonna have a darkest hour. One arc might be the darkest hour the entire time, and that's the arc. You know, and being able to understand what those are. We've experienced many of them, and I think it would be great for us to talk about that for the next, for one of our next episodes here, and just really dive deep, you know, and talk about what got us through that. I think that would be very encouraging, and just being able to pinpoint it for them, but also like for us to come back and look at it and be able to share that with each other would be very organic. I feel like.
Super valuable, like you said. I'm glad you said that too, for us as well, to just go through and talk about, because even since the last time we've talked about these stories, we've grown. So, and also there's always a new wrinkle, a little detail that the other didn't know, and you know, the other person can always add in ideas. It's what makes this. I don't care if it gets negative views. We've had that happen before. I'm not speaking it into existence, but
literally, I forgot about that.
You know, in one of our darkest hour arcs, yes, that did happen. We did have a video have a certain amount of views, and it was subtracted. And I still don't know how that's I still don't know how that's possible, but. Even if that were to occur, you know, or this video were to not get the views representative of the value that we perceive it to be, it's still super highly valuable for us. And think about it, we've talked now for over an hour, and we haven't even been able to deep dive into these stories. So there's a lot for us to unpack here in these coming months, in this year of 2026 and the years to come. And there are only going to be more experiences and stories that add on. So once again, if you're somebody who has made it to the end of this and has gotten any kind of value, we're just scratching the surface here. And I'm not just trying to market you into something. We don't really have much to gain from it other than you gaining something from it. So if that's the case, make sure you're locked in and subscribe, and we would love to hear your feedback and comments in our minds when we read them down below, because I don't think you can leave voice notes. But yeah, no, we're here to help. We're here to laugh at your jokes. We're here to share thoughts and stories and journeys, and yeah, just be almost like family members. You know, I'm not gonna go into the unk territory. Call us the cool cousins, man, or something, or maybe we're the nephews to some of you. You know,
maybe so. Yeah,
that would be
wishful thinking.
Possibly wishful thinking, but it would be awesome. It would be awesome if, you know, if some of you out there are much older than us, and you know, can help us in some way, or just exchange ideas. That's what we've learned, is the value of sharing in itself. Think about when you were, and I feel like this might be a note that we can end on, because it kind of wraps things up in a beautiful bow. I think, maybe. We'll see. Because it's something that I've discovered is when you were a kid, you didn't draw something for it to be hung in the Louvre, right? In Paris. You drew something just for one person to see, mom or dad.
Right.
You just wanted to show it to one person. That was enough for you. Then, of course, I mean, anybody who would look at it, you would show.
Mm-hmm.
But this idea, and I feel like we've gone on the other end of the spectrum of like almost keeping stuff for ourselves in a sense, because you want to keep it in a vault or something like that. A part of the excitement for life is being able to share your experience with someone else.
Right.
Being able to take that picture that you drew and show it to somebody helps drive you forward. Not because you want their validation or their feedback, but because the act of sharing it and opening yourself up to somebody, regardless of how they respond, is something that holds you accountable to keep doing it. Us knowing, hey, we've told these people one time a month.
Different,
short intermission one more time. All good. Nothing wrong with it. But we've told you now, I'm speaking to you specifically watching this, we told you and made a commitment, hey, one time a month, you're going to get this episode from us. That adds to our excitement to bring it out. Just knowing that there's somebody who's looking forward to it just like we are, who wants us to share the elixir, so to say. That's something, that sense of community. And you talked about you stop moving and you stop learning and you die, right? And we'll see if we can get some scientific research behind that, because I feel like it's like just the topic of longevity is something that we're both interested in. But another thing that I've heard and I've actually observed with my grandmother, for example, is like socially. They say that elderly people with strong social ties and communities have a much higher life expectancy than people who are more antisocial, more to themselves, and kind of like the old man down the street who's locked in his locked in his house.
Right.
You lead a healthier, happier, more energetic, more excited life when you are willing to share yourself with other people in a thoughts and idea sense. You know what I'm talking about. Don't go down that road.
So in other words, you're saying sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. Sharing is living. Sharing is living. Yeah, your kindergarten teacher was onto something. That's what I'm saying.
There you go. Well said, brother. Well, I think that does wrap us up for episode 1, man. This was exciting. This was a great time. I feel rejuvenated to finally get this done after a long, long time. And I know that we'll continue to get better and continue to grow. Exactly. I'm excited for those. Who get to see this first. If you're seeing this first and you're the first view, comment, I'm here. Let us know. Let everybody know.
Hey man, this is our first Denzel Washington film in some ways, man. It's not, but it is. It's not, but it is.
This is our first time as the new versions of ourselves, man. I feel like last time we just didn't have the right viewpoint on it, and I feel like now we're doing it for the reasons we're supposed to be doing it. We're moving forward and becoming the people we need to become, and we're helping those who need to hear it. And for the next, 50 years, this will be here unless YouTube all of a sudden just disappears.
Yeah,
but
who knows?
It's gonna be here for those that need it, those that seek it, and those that want it. So I'm proud to be on the journey with you, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We were back then. We were sweaty. In the video game, Fortnite. 12-year-old sense. Now, right now, my armpits are sweating, but it's a good type of sweat, man. It's excitement. I'm pumped up, man. Fired up. Just it's energizing to have these conversations and know that somebody might be able to take a few things from it, and at the very least, we'll be able to look back and have kind of like a checkpoint that we can check and see, where were we at with 24 and 25 years old. So,
right.
Once again, make sure that subscribe button is clicked if you want to see this format again, because we all procrastinate out there. You waited to the end of the video. So this is your chance again. This is your call to adventure, right? It's your call to adventure. And it's time to cross the threshold. For us, we just got done returning the elixir, and it's time for us to head to the next call to adventure. So we have a little signature outro. I started the intro, so it's only right. It's only right that I just Jamal Crawford that off the backboard to you.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you're ready.
I'm slowly windmilling it, bringing it down, bringing it down. I'm not going to be like Blake, though. I'm not going between the legs. And I'm going to let the folks know that you have been tuned in to the Fresh
Squeeze
podcast. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. And we'll see y'all in the next one.